Hi there, welcome to my views and news. Interesting speech by Ethiopian PM Abiy in Nairobi, Kenya, while Hassan Sheikh, Somalia's president, was sitting right in front of him. What did he say about regional dialogue, about reconciliation, about talks? Details for you in this video. The PM Abiy was in Nairobi, Kenya on uh, Tuesday. International Development Association held a summit in Nairobi, Kenya. IDA, International Development Association, is part of the World Bank, and the summit was obviously about identifying the areas where IDA should invest. It was about giving loans, assistance, grants to African countries. So African leaders were there highlighting their performance, what they have been doing to uplift the lives of their people, what they have been doing to fight climate change related disasters, etc. Abiy spoke there and he mentioned two important points which I want to share with you. Firstly, 2 days ago, if you remember, I talked about Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission. Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission 2 days ago reported that it had selected around 12,000 people to participate, and that soon more people will be selected and then dialogue will start. I said that PM Abiy is not sincere in internal dialogue because all major parties have boycotted the National Dialogue Commission, OFC, OLF, TPLF is not part of the National Dialogue Commission as well, ONLF, Afar Democratic Party, Hibber, etc. Several parties from across Ethiopia, main parties are not part of the dialogue. Armed groups, not part of dialogue. Ola, Fano, no one is participating in the dialogue. So how can we call it national dialogue when when major players, political, armed, are not participating in these talks? If you remember, in that live chat, I said that PM Abiy will sell this dialogue on international level to build his repute, to tell the world that he's a very democratic leader, that he believes in reconciliation, he believes in talks, he believes in dialogue. And that is what happened. He spoke in Nairobi, Kenya yesterday. And the second main point, rather first main point which he raised, which he highlighted about Ethiopia, was the dialogue. He said that Ethiopia believes in reconciliation, dialogue. That is why in 2021, Ethiopia established National Dialogue Commission. And this Dialogue Commission so far has held talks with thousands of participants and stakeholders, and talks will continue. While on the ground, we know that this National Dialogue Commission does not have trust of any major opposition party or armed group of Ethiopia. So how can we say that PM Abiy's government is sincere in taking this National Dialogue Commission further by involving all the relevant players? But as I said, PM Abiy is selling this National Dialogue Commission on international level to build his repute, to show that his government is very democratic, very participatory, and all decisions will be made in an inclusive manner, firstly. Secondly, the Prime Minister delivered a speech. Hassan Sheikh was sitting right in front of him, I think in first or second row. And there, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia talked about regional dialogue. that, and he's used the word imminent. He said regional dialogue is imminent. Now, the most pressing issue for Ethiopia in terms of regional dialogue is its conflict with Somalia. The relation with Eritrea, not very friendly too, but I think the main issue which has the potential of turning into an escalation, an armed escalation, is Ethiopia-Somalia tension over access to sea, over the controversial MOU which Ethiopia has signed with Somaliland, and Ethiopia is going to implement it in 2 months according to Somaliland. While land claims that in the next 2 months, final agreement will be signed, Ethiopia will have one of the 3 proposed places to establish a naval base. In the same day, Somalia will be recognized as a country by Ethiopia. This is what Dr. Isa Kaid, Wildland Foreign Minister, said a few hours ago. So the most pressing issue for Ethiopia in terms of regional dialogue is Ethiopia-Somalia dialogue. And he said regional dialogue is imminent. What does it mean? Does it mean that Ethiopia and Somalia have reached some sort of secret understanding and they're going to participate in talks? Which is not very likely, because Somalia has been resisting talks with Ethiopia since the 1st of January, when Ethiopia signed MOU with Somaliland. Somalia has been saying that talks will only be held after the withdrawal of Ethiopia from the MOU, after cancellation of MOU. Ethiopia has not withdrawn from the MOU. It has not implemented it as well. MOU is still an MOU. But Somaliland says in 2 months, the MOU will turn into an agreement. And PM Abiy was saying in front of Hassan Sheikh that regional dialogue is imminent. Regional dialogue between Ethiopia and which country? Between Ethiopia and Kenya, Ethiopia and Djibouti, Ethiopia and Somaliland, Ethiopia and Eritrea, or Ethiopia and Somalia. Somalia has not confirmed any dialogue with Ethiopia so far. Yes, Djibouti and Kenya have been mediating. Why? Because both have their economic interests. Djibouti wants to retain Ethiopian imports, exports being handled by Djibouti's ports. Djibouti's economy will take a hit if Ethiopia diverts its import, export handling from Djibouti's ports to other ports. Kenya is acting like a smart businessman. It wants its share. It knows that Ethiopia wants more ports to use. So it is offering lower tariffs to Ethiopian government if Ethiopia shows interest in using Kenyan ports. So both say they're mediating. Basically, they're trying to protect their economic interests. They want to achieve their economic goals. But they have been talking to both Ethiopian and Somalia, Ethiopian side and Somalia. And I think one round of talks was held in Kenya, indirect talks between an Ethiopian delegation and a Somalia's delegation. And we heard from a Djibouti's minister that second round was going to be held in Djibouti. But then we saw that Djibouti used very strong language against Somaliland, against Musi Abdi. Second round of talks could not start between Ethiopia and Somalia, indirect talks. So what regional dialogue is PM Abiy talking about? Has Ethiopia made some progress in convincing Somalia to enter into talks with Ethiopia, which is not the case? Let's see, will Somalia reject PM Abiy? Though PM Abiy did not mention Somalia, did not use the name of the country Somalia. He only said a regional dialogue. But official position of Somalia's government is that no dialogue with Ethiopia. Maybe PM Abiy tried to convince the international community that the continent, leaders of the continent, it was African summit, that he was supportive of dialogue. Though he signed MOU with Somaliland without consulting Somalia. He should have talked to Somalia back then. He did not. Now he says he is a big champion of dialogue, talks, and reconciliation. Watch the clip of Abiy's speech, which he delivered in Nairobi, Kenya. Take a listen to what he said about dialogue, National Dialogue Commission, and about regional dialogue. Thanks for watching.
Second, and central to our collective aspirations for a peaceful continent, we must foster dialogue and reconciliation. In late 2021, Ethiopia formed the National Dialogue Commission to lead inclusive talks, independently tackling ongoing conflicts with wide public involvement. The Commission has thus far had consultative dialogue involving tens of thousands of stakeholders over 2 years. Regional dialogue are imminent, aiming to expand participation further.